a consensus that for the legislature, there is bound to be constant change or regular changes just to be able to get governance on its track and also put those in the executive in check, and so that the electorates, as it were, the constituents, as it were, will feel more the impact of governance. Of course, a couple of weeks back, we saw a leadership change in the Edo State House of Assembly, which saw the exit of former Speaker, Right Honorable Dr. Justin Okonobo, and of course the coming in of Right Honorable Kabiru Ajoto as the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, and of course Engineer Victor Aduro as the Deputy Speaker. And then of course there was also a change in terms of the leading party in the House. And so today in the studio we have the Majority Leader at the State House of Assembly. He's also the member representing Orionwo South constituency in the State House of Assembly, Roland Asoro. Roland, many thanks for joining us on the program.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Okay, we also have in the studio the Chief Whip of the House, also the member representing Oredo East constituency, Osaibovo EDHA. Many thanks for joining us, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, let me start with Majority Leader. There is a feeling that this is one change too many. In 2015 or thereabout, we saw a change of leadership. And then overnight, there was another change of leadership. And the basis of the second change was that it was necessary to bring about a balance of power in the 3 senatorial districts in Edo State. So, if I may ask, what is the basis of this leadership change in the House?
Sonny Duke, thank you very much for this opportunity, and let me also thank the good people of Edo State for giving us the opportunity to serve them. I think as legislator, we have one primary function, and that function is to enact law that will bring about good governance. That is the most important thing. And in doing that, there are so many indices that we need to put into place. Recently, just like you mentioned, the change of leadership was occasioned by the fact that when the aim of a legislator is no longer being pursued in the House, definitely there is need for change. We are not in the House of Assembly for ourselves. We are there to represent our people that put us there. So our personal interest should be secondary, and the focus should be on development. When the previous leadership deviated from that angle, certainly there will be a change. And these changes is orchestrated or necessitated for good governance. You recall that the governor of Edo State, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, has a lot of programs and projects that will bring about growth and development of the state. And we as legislators, we are saddled with the responsibility to work with the executive to ensure that these people's-oriented programs are being implemented. But a situation where some of the past leaders are interested in selfish things, it will not all go well. And that is exactly what orchestrated these changes. So at the moment, after the changes, you can see that the House is balanced. The House is settled. We are now going about our normal duty to legislate laws that will bring about good governance. And that is exactly what is going on. And you also recall that as legislators, we are not just there on our own. We receive petitions from the members of the public that will enhance their well-being. When we leave all that, we are pursuing personal things. That is not why we're there. Currently, in the previous administration, you can see that we're always going on break. In 2 months, we went on break twice. Is that why we were voted for? Presently now, because of that gap, we have a lot of petitions to be attended with, but we've not done any of that. And that is why this new leadership now, by today, we are going to extend our calendar with 2 weeks to make up for all those lapses that the previous administration have already done. We have a lot of petitions on our table that we need to treat. And apart from that, the government also have bills that we need to attend to. Bills that will bring about, that will take food to the people. Bills that will create employment. Bills that will make good roads. There are bills, a lot of bills from the government. We've not done any of that. And we are going on break every now and then. But for now, we've settled fully and we are ready to take that bill. And to create room for that, we are going to have an extension today of our calendar to accommodate those bills.
Okay, let me come to the Chief Whip. The feeling is that despite what the majority leader has explained as being the reasons for this leadership change, the feeling is that this change is on selfish ground, on self-centered ground, based on personal aggrandizement to be in charge of the house. It's not necessarily for good governance, it's not necessarily for the constituents who elected you, because there was never any consultation with the constituent before this leadership change was orchestrated.
Good morning. Like I said before, you know, whenever things like this happen, there will be many insinuations. There will be different comments from different quarters. But like you said, like my majority leader just mentioned, we are from the, we are 24 members in the House from the whole local governments in Edo State. So we're voted for by the people. And as he mentioned, there's a primary purpose why we are there. We are representing people. So when you have a situation where you cannot function based on the trust that has been put on you by your people, there's bound to be agitation. So the House of Assembly, there is no, I do not think there is any other motive to changing leadership. What are we going to superintend over? We are not the executive. We are only here to make laws. That is the truth. There's no till to put your hand in, or there is no cake there that, as they call it, that you want to, that is going to be shared in the House of Assembly. So this is akin to, I like to look at it this way. When you have a professor with a degree in a classroom, then you have a doctor in the same classroom, and then you bring in a GCE holder in the same classroom. And then you put the GCE holder in charge to be prefect. So there is no time that there is no time that there wouldn't be agitations and there won't be issues, because the GCE holder definitely does not have the kind of capacity that your PhD holder or that your professor has. So that is why you see that there has been frequent rumbles in the House, you know. But I think for the first time we have a square peg in a square hole. So definitely you will not see this kind of agitations anymore. I have no doubt in my mind.
Okay, there's also an issue that this leadership change threw up, which is that in the last change that saw Justin Okonobo coming in, it was more of balance of power within the 3 senatorial districts of the state. And some have said this House has refused to recognize that as something that should be considered, and as such, the Edo Central Senatorial District axis has been completely cut off from the balance of power in the state. You don't see anything wrong with that, Majority Leader?
Well, like I said before, the essence of governance is to provide good leadership to the people that will bring about development. The person that is occupying the seat of the speaker doesn't really matter. And moreover, the House of Assembly is an independent body made up of 24 members representing various constituencies. The speaker is just first among the equal, and it is there at the mercy of the other members. There were times where somebody from Edo Central was the Speaker of the House, and now somebody from Edo North is the Speaker of the House. It doesn't really matter who is the Speaker. What is important is who is able to do the job. The current speaker has the qualities that is required to carry out effective legislative duties. And he will bring about development not only to Edo North, but to the entire state. So what is important is growth and development, not individual. For me, I don't see anything wrong when 19 members selected one of theirs to be the speaker. It could be Edo Central, it could be Edo South, it could be Edo North. It is not an issue. The important thing is, will this person be able to do the job that is being elected to do? And as you can see, the man has kicked on. More developments as we liaise with the executive, more of those desired changes that the executive, the people voted us to do, will begin to come in area of employment, in area of roads, in area of institutionalization and what have you. And I think the current leadership will be able to achieve that.
Okay,
let me add something to that. Yeah. You see, these are one of the reasons why you see that our country is developing at a very, you see a lot of motion, but no movement. That's why we are this low in development, you know. First is first, it's a 24-member house, and they say people deserve the kind of leadership they choose, you know. Do you think that today, or let me take us back a little bit. When PDP was in government for 16 years, we had over 3, or at least 3 ministers of works, all from Edo Central extraction, Minister of Works. We had 3 of them. And I'm not sure that that road, the Benin-Abuja road, was motorable all through, till date.
At least it was better then compared to what we have today.
But is that the kind of road we deserve today?
It may not be, but it was better then compared
is
to
that
today.
the kind of road today?
Let's stay on course.
You understand?
Let's stay on course, yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, when you do not have to occupy certain positions to bring development to your people. You do not have to occupy. The office of the speaker and the deputy speaker is the same. It's one and the same office. It's not like the office of the governor and the deputy governor. You know, okay, today, I think since when I was young, I've been hearing of light by the year. At first it was 1980 something, 90 something, 2000, we had Vision 2020. So if you ask me, Nigerians do not care who from which tribe or from which state, anybody that can give us constant electricity. Even if the person goes by the name Aisha Buhari, as far as she is able to occupy that office and give us constant light, do you think we care who she is? We don't care.
So that would probably mean that you're saying that the people in Edo Central Senatorial District don't care who is at the helm of affairs in the speakership position. But recently you recall that there was a meeting between traditional leaders, traditional rulers in Edo Central and in Edo North, where they called on the House to revert to either the status quo or at least ensure that somebody from Edo Central Senatorial District occupies the position of the speaker. Are you saying that's irrelevant?
I tell you today, if anybody, no matter from what extraction, government is about development. Government is about service. If anybody can give them what they want, for as i.e. good roads and social amenities, they won't bother about. If the person from their extraction cannot do it for them, and even if a Hausa man comes tomorrow to do that for them, they will vote the Hausa man in. Because the essence of government is development. We don't care whose color, whether it's white or black or anybody that does it. We just want to see, the people want to see food on their table, they want to have good roads to pass, they want to have water, they want to have, that's all.
But there are those who will say you're speaking like this because this setup favors you?
No, no setup has never, there's no setup in the House of Assembly that has never favored me. We are 24 members, it has favored everybody. It has favored, as far as it favors our people, it has favored us. We are not here to speak for ourselves, we are here to speak for our people.
Okay, let me come to majority leader. The feeling is that this is an amorphous arrangement, which is temporary, that ultimately this will eventually result to another change that will bring about balance of power in the state? Are you saying there's no element of truth in that?
Well, like I said before, the 24 members of Edo State House of Assembly are men with transparent honesty. About 19 of us now that voted for this change. They are men with transparent honesty, men that are very, very pragmatic in thinking and holistic in their approach to issues. We were not coerced to do what we did. We did it on our own evolution. So if there are no external forces that made us to bring about this change, how do you think it is now that we've effected the change and things are going on smoothly? We are doing our legislative duty very well, that we cannot come about other changes. Our aim is to bring about growth and development of the people. If there is need for that on our own, we will also effect it. But as I speak to you, there is no need for that. We are on course and we are going on well, provided our duty to carry out effective and efficient legislative duties that will bring food to the common man, that will bring job to our timid youth that are clamoring for job, that will repair our roads. You will agree with me that the present governor is already on track in this area of employment, rural rehabilitation, and what have you. We must legislate robustly with him so as to achieve all this growth and development which is in his heart. So changes in the legislature has nothing to do with the executive. We are independent body and we've choose our leader, we've choose our leadership, and so be it. Okay. Provided our people are getting the dividends of democracy.
If you just join us, the program is TMI Monday with yours sincerely, and I've been talking with two principal officials from the Edo State House of Assembly. You know, recently there was a leadership change which brought in Right Honorable Kabiru Ajoto as the new Speaker of the House. With me in the studio is the Majority Leader, Roland Asoro, and of course the Chief Whip, Rationale EDHA. We're looking at the issues of stability in the House and impact on governance. So quickly, because you talked about some of the activities of the state governor, you said the governor is on track. That's the exact word that you used. Yeah. But there is a feeling that this leadership change was actually orchestrated to be able to put the executive in check. As some said, that the House is not feeling okay with the activities of the state governor or the state government, that the state government is alienating the House in terms of funding, in terms of the largesse, in terms of the goodies that used to accrue to them. Can you substantiate that? Let me come to the Chief Whip. I'll come back to you. Yeah.
Well, this is very interesting because, like I said, when things like this happen, there will be different interpretations and all that. Well, let me tell you something about this assembly. I think it's the most vibrant assembly we've had since we had Bender State. We have a lot of people that are professionals, people coming together, some people that have come from the private sector. Somebody like me came from the private sector. We've had people that have been local government chairmen. So for me, governance, coming into government was a way of sacrifice. Because we came into sacrifice because governance has to do with service. And when you want to serve, you have to make sacrifices. So I do not see how us coming into government now was a way to checkmate the executive. Yes, we are there to do oversight functions, but you only want to checkmate what is wrong. From what we are seeing so far with the kind of government that we have, it's a government, we are not there to oppose the governor. It's only when they are going wrong we say, no, this is not the way to go. This is not what is supposed to be. When you have a government that is doing very, very well, I think the only thing you have to do is support. So this is a government that is doing well. We actually had this little issues with changing because we did not want to impede the government. The pace at which this governor is moving, the former leadership, we realized within ourselves that we were impeding the progress. of the executive.
How are you doing that? How are you doing that?
Like the majority leader just mentioned, we have a lot of bills on our table waiting to be attended to. But because of these frequent holidays that we don't know where they were just coming from, you just sit down in the house, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the next thing you hear, you start hearing rumors, we're going on break next week. Where are we going to? Where are we going to? You understand? Meanwhile, we have bills that are piled up from the executive. And then if you go on social media, you'll see that a lot of things are coming up in the state, but they cannot actually kick off because the enabling laws are not there. And if the governor moves ahead with it, it will be illegal. So we did this because we said, no, let us work for our people. Our people are suffering. This is the rainy season. You have a government that is still working. It's a good excuse during the rains. We travel a lot in this country. A wonderful excuse to say that, to give that, oh, there are no roads because the rains are falling. So after the rains, we'll come and start doing that. But we don't have that situation right now. So there are a lot of things that needs to be done that weren't done in the past. And you will see the speed at which we are going to do this in the next couple of days. I need you to come to, if you were coming to the house before, I just need you to come for some hours and just come and observe our deliberations. And you'll find out that what we have had in the last 2 weeks beats whatever we had before.
Okay. Majority Leader, you want to add something to that on the issue of alleged poor funding of the House by the state executive, which some have said also facilitated or fast-tracked this leadership change. Yeah, you got something to say along those lines?
Well, what is poor funding? Like my colleagues said,
means Kulele is not coming as it ought to be.
That is not true. And moreover, we are not there because of that. We are there to do the job of those that sent us, which is the people of Edo State. So as a member of the assembly, I'm receiving all my entitlements. So I don't understand when people say Kulele. What is it? I've received, as a matter of fact, in fairness to the executive, we've received all our entitlements just like every other person in the state. Our duty is to legislate, to do laws. Let me remind you the words of Martin Luther King Jr. He said, a man have not started living until it rises above the narrow confine of his individualistic value, but to the wider concern of humanity. Our essence of coming to the house is to serve the people, not our personal self. Yeah, in the process of doing that, there are benefits that are accrued to us, which I know we'll be getting from the executive. I don't really see, it is only when you are there for selfish reason that you talk about all this that people are insinuating. The reason for the change is what I've just told you. Incessant holiday. We are there to even learn on our job. But the opportunity is not there because every now and then we are going on break. Even petitions from the public. A lot of petitions. We have about 23 committees in the House. And this committee are saddled with the responsibility of treating petitions, carrying out oversight function on the executive. But when we keep going on holiday, is it during the holiday we are going to carry out these duties? Certainly not. And that is what orchestrated that change. And as I speak with you, immediately we leave here today now, we're going to change our calendar to accommodate those lapses that we've experienced in the past. We're going to extend our calendar with 2 weeks.
Okay. Is the house stable now?
It's very, very stable.
Okay.
When I mean stable, I mean stable. Let me tell you, we are 24 members in the house. 19 signed this impeachment. The remaining 4 of them are principal officers, of which even when given the opportunity with the present team of leadership, they will even sign for this present team of leadership. I can assure you about that. And as I speak, we've already passed that changes. Okay. We are already going on. We are working together. Things are going on smoothly. And from now onward, you are going to be seeing the dividends. Our main duty, we are going to ensure that we are carrying them out.
You said the house is stable,
Very
but
stable.
the former deputy speaker is still on suspension. You will recall recently one of the members of the House that was suspended alongside her. So, how do is that still stability? Okay, Chief, he wants to make a comment on that.
Yeah. Actually, it's even in the tongue and the teeth they fight, you know. But thereafter comes peace, you know. Well, like you mentioned, if you recall, from the red chair, the Speaker, Right Honorable Kabiru Ajoto, announced the suspension of 4 members on that day. He set up a 3-man committee to look at the offenses that were leveled against them. And the 3-man committee was given 3 weeks to quickly report with their findings, and they swung into action immediately. And a couple of days later, there were people amongst those 4 that were responsive. They came out, they gave their accounts of all the deeds of the administration. We said, okay, if these people are cooperating, it means there's a way forward. There's a way forward. So we decided to call 2 back, because those 2 were cooperating at the time. When the ones that were left on suspension saw that 2 of their colleagues had been called back, I think they had good reason to say, okay, one of them came too, and then he became very, very cooperative too. So we've called the other one back. But there was someone who took the assembly that wrote us via a lawyer, and there were certain items that she was supposed to return, like vehicles. So if I know that's where you go in with stability. And these vehicles are properties of Edo State House of Assembly. And like it's done everywhere, when you're in an office, there are certain appendages that come with it. Yeah. There are certain entitlements to that office. So it's only natural that when you're leaving, you leave them behind. I give you a case in point. The last governor, the comrade governor, Adam Saliu Shomole, when he was leaving office, he left his vehicle. You understand? These are very, very difficult times in the country, as we all know. And if it were, I know a lot of other states. I can tell you that out of the 36 states in Nigeria, if any new governor comes in, he will not use the car of his predecessor. But in Edo State, Governor Obaseki is using the same vehicle that the comrade governor used. 99% of the time, I stand to be corrected, the governors, they always buy their own cars. So Edo State cannot afford that. We have a governor that cuts his coat according to his cloth. So it is expected that the same thing will happen in the legislature. So when those materials, those cars, till I speak, haven't been returned. So you do not expect us to go ahead when our property is outside to call a member that has refused.
Her lawyer, the lawyer of the person in question, yes, came out with a letter in which he said the former governor gave those cars to the person in question as a personal property. So why is the House still interested in retrieving properties that have been given to someone as her personal property?
Sonny, I'm sorry. Can you give what you don't have? The former governor wasn't a member of the House of Assembly. Those cars belong to Edo State House of Assembly. You cannot give what you do not have. The former governor does not own the vehicles of Edo State House of Assembly.
So are you saying the letter written to her to that effect, is it consequential?
I do not, as I speak with you, it is already a case before the police. And as at the last time I checked, we have gone from the House of Assembly to answer the query issued by the police. You understand? I expect that all parties involved would have done that. So when lawyers are involved, of course, we all know that if you cannot settle amicably, the next thing to do is go to court. So I do not know right now whether summons have been passed or something. So if it's already before the court, it's something that we have to be very, very
no, we're not aware it's already before the court.
You understand?
We're not aware it's already before the court.
We have to watch.
We know that.
But you can't give what you don't have anyway. The comrade governor has no right to give the cars of Edo State House of Assembly to anybody. Except the only way anything leaves the House of Assembly is if the 24 members sit down and pass a resolution. That is when you make a law, as with all other laws in the state. So it is, as far as we know, if he did, it was illegal, it is null and void. If he did. But I also know the comrade governor that is also a man that is very, very vast in law. So we cannot call a member back, if that is what you mean by stability, if the person still has the property of Edo State House of Assembly.
So until those properties are returned, she will not be recalled. That's what you're saying?
Why not? She'll be recalled. If she brings back the property and then the allegations leveled against her, we find out that, okay, they are cleared, there's no reason why we shouldn't call her back. But those property are property of Edo State House of Assembly, and nobody has the right to give those property out.
They say the State House of Assembly is not women friendly.
If you say they say the State House of Assembly is not women friendly, you recall.
The speaker,
some time ago, she was speaker, and we have 23 May, just one female, and the 23 May made her our speaker. Sorry, let me tell you. You see, you mentioned the issue of cars. You see, it is not only the issue of car that is the reason why the Honorable Speaker pronounced a suspension. There are other issues which with time, just like my colleague said, 3-man committee has been set up to investigate those issues. When those issues are investigated and we find out that she's not guilty of any of them, we'll call her back. She's our own, she's our friend.
She's our mother.
She's our mother.
She's our sister.
You understand? Personally, I have a very robust relationship with her. I'm of the opinion, but I just want her to do the needful. You see, changes happens. It's not only in the Edo State House of Assembly. She should also take it in the spirit of sportsmanship and forge ahead. And we are ready as a house to accommodate everybody just like we were before.
Okay. You said spirit of sportsmanship now. Yeah. That should either be karate or taekwondo or boxing or wrestling, because we saw a lot of that on display. But that's just on the side. Now, going forward, you said the house is stable, and primarily this change was orchestrated in order to give adequate support and backing to the state executive for greater impact in the state. In all of this, what is the future like for this present leadership in the House in terms of impact of governance in Edo State? Let me get the Chief Whip to make a comment on that, and I'll come to Majority Leader.
Well, like we have mentioned here, you know, when you have a government that is people-oriented, a government that wants to work for the people that have entrusted them with leadership, it means that the House of Assembly has to be vibrantly upwardly mobile and queue behind what that government is doing, because we were all entrusted. We're just 24 in a state of with a population of about 5 million. If 24 of us have been entrusted with power, and it means we have a lot of trust has been put on our shoulders. So we do not have any choice other than to take up that mantle to make sure that we are able to deliver the dividends of democracy to our people. Like my Majority Leader just mentioned, our committees that cover everything that is done in the state are already tuned up and they are ready to hit the streets. You know, we are receiving petitions. We've started working on them. The committees are activated. So in fact, since last week, our people have started going out. You know, we're looking at our roads, we're looking at our markets, all the places that we have issues, the conflict resolution committee, everybody's working. So the important thing is, which was a major reason why we said this cannot continue, and we had to effect a change of leadership, is we have to go back to why the people sent us here. It is to bring the dividends of democracy close to them.
Okay. All right. We just have to revert a little bit to the issue of vehicles that are with the former Deputy Speaker that are yet to be returned. We just got this question coming from one of our viewers asking, why is this House asking for the return of these vehicles? Where was the House when these vehicles were taken? That's one. And then two, she's not the only person that has gone, has left office with her vehicle. So why is our own case so special, so peculiar?
Sonny, you see, those vehicles in question does not belong to individual, does not belong to activate, does not belong to ASO. It belongs to the office of the Speaker and the office of the majority leader. Sorry, office of the Deputy Speaker. Now, the comrade governor bought those vehicles for those offices. And as at then, she was the person occupying that position. And you also know that House of Assembly is a tenant program, 4 years. She has not completed the tenure of 4 years. And even if she completed that tenure, she cannot take what belongs to the House of Assembly. If you say that some other person that have occupied that position, they left with the vehicle, one, they may have completed that tenure and they may have also paid for those vehicles as it were, isn't it? But in this case, the tenure is still running. Today, she's no more the Speaker or the Deputy Speaker as it were. Someone else is still there. Do you not expect the state government to come and purchase another vehicle for the new Speaker, even when the tenure is still running? Practically, it is unreasonable. It's very unreasonable for one to think once you occupied an office and the vehicle that is meant for that office, when you are no longer in that office, you go away with the vehicle.
On the day the impeachment took place, she came with those vehicles to the chambers. You all saw her as she left with those vehicles. Nothing was done. And now it's all hue and cry that she should return those vehicles.
Point of correction.
Yeah.
On the day of impeachment, she never came with those vehicles. Probably she has reasons for that. Which one we don't know.
Well, I like to
those that came with their vehicles, they returned like the former Speaker. We've retrieved the vehicle. The vehicle is already with the assembly. He returned it. Willingly, because he knows the law. We are lawmakers. We must not be seen breaking the laws. How will you remove a vehicle that does not belong to you and you say somebody gave you that vehicle?
But there's a letter to that effect.
That is not the issue. And we are not even aware of such letter.
What do you mean you are not aware?
Yeah, we are not aware because we are not party to.
I think I should come in here.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I should come in here. You know, those vehicles that we're talking about, they are the vehicles for the office of the Speaker.
Yeah.
And you agree with me that today our Speaker does not have a vehicle. And meanwhile, this is provided for.
You said our Speaker does not have a vehicle.
He doesn't.
But you just said that the former Speaker has returned the vehicle that he was.
Okay, now let me explain this better to you.
Yes.
The vehicle that the former Speaker returned was a vehicle for the office of Deputy Speaker. Do not forget the former Speaker was the Deputy Speaker. And Mrs. Ativie was Speaker. When those vehicles were supplied, they were supplied for the office of the Speaker.
And the Deputy Speaker.
And the Deputy Speaker.
Okay.
So when we had this reversal, the vehicles for the office of the Speaker was never returned by the new Deputy Speaker. Well, we thought that being one and the same office, they had their arrangement within both of them. That's what we thought. And so when on Tuesday we got that letter, or was it Thursday we got the new letter stating that the vehicles were given to her, we were shocked. You understand? Is it now, presently, as we stand in this country, where our resources are dwindling by the second, that we now expect to go and buy new vehicles for the office of the Speaker of the House of Assembly? When our people are hungry? We can't do that. There are vehicles, they are provided for. Everybody knows the process. After 4 years, we tell our people thank you and we go home. There are certain things that accrue to us that, okay, normally by virtue of our office and all that, you understand, we could probably have those if you have monetized it.
Yeah.
But we do not expect, if this is how it is, it means that every month we'll have a new speaker so that people can be going away with vehicles, like the opposition has said. But it is not true. It is not true. That is not how it is. When you have done your tenure, there are certain things, okay, you go with, by way of monetization and all that. But you cannot, look at it, it's ridiculous. And that's why I said, by the way, you cannot give what you do not have. Because all the vehicles do not belong to Edo State government. They belong to Edo State House of Assembly. So you cannot have another authority that will give those vehicles out. It is not possible. It's like we are lawmakers. Sometimes we pass laws in Edo State or in other states, and then when those laws conflict with the provisions of the Constitution, whatever we have passed there becomes null and void. It's as simple as that.
Okay, it's been quite revealing and insightful, the thoughts shared here by these two gentlemen. The Majority Leader, Edo State House of Assembly, Roland Asoro, is also the member representing Oriomo South constituency in the State House of Assembly, and of course the Chief Whip, Osaibovo EDHA, who is also the member representing Oredo East constituency in the State House of Assembly. From the thoughts shared this morning, stability has come to the Edo State House of Assembly. We can only keep our fingers crossed that this stability will be translated to good governance and impactful governance on the people of Edo State. And those who have doubts, those doubts will naturally dissolve. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program. And as the days go by, I will need to invite you. I hope you always oblige us.
We will.
Thank you so much.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It's still TMI Monday with yours sincerely. Remember, on the 28th of September, it's a Thursday at the prestigious Elora Royal Hall and Suites. We're going to be having the pre-independence anniversary lecture with the theme, Restructuring Nigeria, the fears, the challenges, and the prospects. Interestingly, this guest, our gentleman here, will be part of our special guest of honors that will grace that event. We're also inviting you to be there so that we can talk more about Nigeria and move our great nation forward. We'll take that promo now. We'll be back with the rest of the program. TMI Monday with yours sincerely. Don't go away.